What's up guys, Theros here. This video is going to be a little bit different than usual because I want to talk about something that I've noticed as I've been watching all of you go on your React developer journey. This, by the way, all happens on the Discord, which honestly, if you're not a part of it already, you are missing out. It's the first link in the description. I would highly recommend. The thing that I've noticed on the Discord is that a lot of you don't know what React looks like in the real world. And what I mean by that is that you haven't worked with React on a real project, with a real company, in something that is bigger than just one person. And honestly, that makes sense, right? Like, this isn't a bad thing or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong. You guys are still learning, and a lot of you are still at the school/course level, which is totally what you would expect from somebody that's learning React, right? Like, that's where you start. And from there, you then go on to join bigger projects, companies, and actually put into practice everything that you've learned so far. But there is a big difference between the React that you see in companies and projects all around the world and the React that you see in tutorials and beginner level courses. Oftentimes actually, and this might surprise you, the code that you would see in a simple tutorial or a beginner level course can actually be better than a production level React app. And I mean, sure, the code in a tutorial might be overly simplified, right? A lot of the complexity might be abstracted away, but one could argue that that's exactly what makes the code better. It's simplicity. How often have you heard that simple code is great code? But then, on the other hand, the code that you would typically see in a production level application at scale is way more complex than anything you would have ever seen in a simple tutorial. Honestly, trust me, the difference is night and day. And honestly, nothing can prepare you for that. You can literally watch as many tutorials as you want. You can take on as many courses as you want. The moment that you get a real life application and it's your sole responsibility, maybe with a few teammates, to take on this project and build upon it, honestly, you will be shocked. I was shocked when this happened to me. I can tell you with 100% certainty that there isn't one single application that I've ever worked on in my professional career that I can truly say was built completely on best practices. There's always something wrong with it, there's always shortcuts being taken, and it never is perfect. That's because real applications are often built by multiple developers who all share a different opinion as to how the code should be written. They're always built under pressure from management or higher ups to meet a certain deadline, and as the code grows over time, it becomes increasingly difficult to manage and maintain. That's why it's called legacy code. And not only that, but as the project grows big enough, it becomes increasingly difficult and almost impossible to keep perfect, right? There's so many moving parts that it just doesn't make sense. No company or organization even has the resources to dedicate to that, nor do they even care. Honestly, they just don't care because at the end of the day, the user will never see the code. I'm telling you, I've worked on projects that use both class components and function components because the developers that initially built the application with class components got fired and replaced, and the new developers wanted to implement something new and they just never removed the class components. I've worked on code that uses context to store the user session while at the same time using Redux to share other application state. And this was fine. We eventually got to learn how to work with it, and honestly, we just never had enough time to go back and fix it, so we were constantly having to build upon this broken pattern. Like, honestly, just think about how you would feel in this situation. You have a project that's built using a broken pattern and you don't have the opportunity to go back and fix it. You have to keep adding to the pile of bad patterns and you have to actually write bad code in your day-to-day. It's not pretty. And I mean, that's the real world, right? Like, this isn't utopian, it isn't simple, and it certainly isn't perfect. And guess what? You have to be ready to go and work within it. And honestly, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, every tutorial video that I do, every live stream that I do, even when I explain something simple in Discord, I always try to account for the real world. I'm not just trying to teach you code, right? Like, anybody can teach you code, it's super simple. I'm trying to prepare you to become a great developer. And that means that you have to be ready to work in ways that you wouldn't normally work in. You might have to use libraries or patterns that you won't like or even agree with, but you still have to contribute and push code because that's your job. And managing that frustration that comes with it is a real skill. For example, I see so many developers jumping on the server components bandwagon because this is the future of React. And while there may be some truth to that, I'm not saying there isn't, the reality of the world is that a lot of these companies and projects are still using the old version of Next.js if you're lucky, and some, trust me, are still using class components with Create React App. You can say that server components are the best in the future all you want, but the reality is that if you want a job in React, the market simply isn't ready for it. If you want to actually get paid for your React developer skills, you're going to have to adapt to the market because new technologies take a long time to get adopted. These are things that no course or tutorial is ever going to teach you. And honestly, why would they? They have like no incentive to do that. All they're there for is to teach you how to do code because that is the simplest thing. But that doesn't mean that these things aren't important or that you shouldn't spend time to be aware of them and to learn them. Part of what makes someone a senior developer is the ability to be versatile and to adapt to any situation and to use the years of experience that you have to solve the problem, right? A good developer is going to take all of the experience that they've had in different projects and come up with a solution that makes sense for the project given the restrictions that the project has. Right? Like it's not about how good you can code, how fast you can code, how simple you can keep your components, or how good you can implement the best practices. Anybody could do that. It's how you can use your broad level of experience, everything that you've seen in your years of experience as a React developer, to come into the project and give the best solution possible. And again, that solution won't always be perfect. It's not going to be ideal and it's not going to be utopian, right? It shouldn't be. It should be the best solution for the project at the time, keeping in mind all of the various trade-offs that you have to do. And it should be something that everybody can get behind to move on and move the project forward. That is the priority. So then what does that mean for you? Well, it means that probably you have a lot more to learn than you think, and you should spend a little bit more of your time outside of code just to learn all of these different things. Remember, this is a whole package, and this is what makes a great developer. If you can do that as you're learning to become a React developer, trust me on this, you're going to get well ahead of your competition because everyone else, they're just following tutorials, they're just taking courses, they're just focusing on code, and none of them are ready for the real React world. If you enjoyed this video, you can click here to subscribe. It would really help me out a lot. You can also click here to watch a different video from me. I'm sure that it's super awesome. If you still haven't joined the Discord, honestly, what are you doing? It is the best resource if you're trying to learn React, which I can only assume you are if you're watching this video. It's the first link in the description. I would highly recommend. And with that being said, my name has been Darius Kozin. This is Kozin Solutions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Ciao.